let's talk a little bit about what people are thinking when they first get started in this business. How many of us were ever afraid to make a phone call? Every single one of us. I can still remember what it was like in the beginning, calling folks and always wondering, what are they going to say? Am I going to get rejected from them? Or am I going to be an imposition? I call them at the wrong time of day. And you can go through a mental exercise in your mind about all the reasons why it's a bad time to call people, to the point where you could just talk yourself out of making the phone call because you're worried about imposing on them. Well, there's probably never a great time. You're always going to be imposing on them when you call them, but some of the mindset has to be that we're imposing on them because we have something that could change their life. And we've all heard that acronym before, FEAR, F-E-A-R, false expectations appearing real. And I think that's very true in most of our minds. We have some fear of the unknown. Even Shakespeare said that our doubts are traitors and make us lose the good we oft might win by failing to attempt. So that's going back a long time ago. And I think our thoughts really do rob us sometimes of what great we could accomplish because we doubt our own ability. And I bet you there's even people in this room that still have folks on their list that they're a little bit intimidated to call, and they just don't have the confidence to approach them. So imagine, again, when you were brand new, imagine the first time someone said no to you and how much that crept into your psyche and how that affected you in terms of your confidence to make the next phone call. So we just have to always put ourselves in that person's shoes and say, we know how they feel. Every one of us has gone through it. It'd be a rare person in this room that said they've never had any butterflies whatsoever when they had to make a phone call and contact someone for an appointment. So it really boils down to two things that we need to teach people. First of all, we really need to help them get in touch with their why. We have to help them develop the mindset, the posture, the belief in what they're doing, because nothing else matters. People need an emotional anchor. They need to be able to identify why they're going to be willing to overcome some of their fears to accomplish something with Melaleuca. It can't be a why not. A why not goes like this. Oh, some better quality products, delivered right to my door, maybe share it with a few friends, earn a little bit of money. Yeah, sure, why not? Why wouldn't I do that? And I think we probably enroll a lot of customers with a why not. They can't think of a good reason why they wouldn't join us because it just makes sense. But they don't have a deep down passionate reason, a resolve that would resemble a why, something that would keep them going no matter what obstacles they might encounter. And the better we can help people get in touch with their why, the sooner we can help them gain the confidence and the belief and learn the how to be successful. Maybe you believe like I do that this statement is true, that when your fear of not building your Melaleuca business becomes greater than your fear of building it, that's when you'll be able to identify your emotional anchor. And that's what you'll need to stay committed to the activities to achieve your goal. And here's what I mean by that. When people start thinking about what their future might be like if they don't do Melaleuca, that can be a pretty scary thought. A few months ago, I was sitting with a gal. We were talking about setting appointments, and we were talking about her goals. And I asked her, well, what's your goal? How much extra income would you like to make on a monthly basis? And she quickly said $2,000 a month. And I said, well, why did you choose $2,000? She said, well, that's the amount I need to make. I said, okay, why do you need to make $2,000? And she said, well, it's because I make $4,000 a month in my full-time job right now, but I have 2 kids, and it costs me about a couple $1,000s a month in daycare and commuting and gas and everything else. My expenses are $2,000 a month. So if I could earn $2,000 a month and be home with my kids, that's all I need to achieve my goal. Well, that's an emotional anchor. She is working towards something that's a passionate reason for her why she wants to be successful in Melaleuca. She's got it identified, and if somebody doesn't show up for a meeting, or somebody says no, or somebody does show up and they don't enroll, that's not going to deter her from reaching her goal because her passionate reason why is important to her. She wants to be home with those kids, and right now she can't do that, and Melaleuca is a means to what she wants to accomplish in life. So that's her emotional anchor. So let's talk a little bit about helping them with their mindset. When I sit down and make a phone call, first and foremost, I don't like anybody listening in. It's part of this little mental game. So I don't want to do calls in front of people. I don't even want Myrna to be listening in the office, or let alone on the other line, which is really kind of funny because I'll make a 3-way call with people. I love doing that, but I don't like people listening to me setting an appointment. So it's just a mental thing. I have to go out in the backyard or lock myself in a room or something. I tell people all the time, it's okay if you're a bathroom caller. Just find a quiet corner somewhere, because I'm a bathroom caller. Just don't flush. But when you're talking to folks, if you're not in the right mindset and something's going through your mind that is distracting you from what you want to accomplish, which is setting the appointment, that can make the difference as to whether you set the appointment or not. So get yourself in the right mindset. Ask yourself some questions. Is the person I'm about to call already a customer? Of course they are. They're already somebody's customer. We're not trying to pitch them on something that they don't currently use. We're trying to share something with them that's better than what they currently use that could be a benefit to them. Do they need our products? Could they use our business? That's got to be a resounding yes for every single person that we call. So that helps with my mindset. They're already someone's customer. They can only benefit from our products or our business. And will they be better off than before I spoke to them? When you help people develop the mindset that every single time they share Melaleuca with someone, they're leaving that person's life a little better off than they found it, when they have that mindset, they won't feel like they're intruding on anyone. They won't have a fear of objection, because they'll have a passion that we really are on a mission here of enhancing lives, right? So help people with that mindset. Okay, what are some of the things we need to help people have belief in? Obviously, they got to believe in our company. And there's people out there that don't yet really believe it's true. I mean, it's hard to argue with success, but the bigger picture, the more vision you can get them on who Melaleuca is, the sooner they will buy in to the fact that it's real. If you can get people out to a leadership launch event, if you can get them to convention, if it's convenient and you can get them to go look at Idaho Falls or meet some top status leaders in your support team that are having success, people from all walks of life that they might relate to that are having success. Every little piece of that builds belief. When we were brand new, Kim and Eddie introduced us to a bunch of folks when we first got started, but they were very careful who they introduced us to. One of the first people Kim introduced us to was Vic Maggio. And he had become a senior director in less than 90 days. They introduced us to, then she introduced us to Jim Head, my other brother. And he had become a senior director in 90 days. And of course, we were dealing with Eddie right from the beginning and heard his story. And he'd become a senior director in 90 days. And he was enrolled by Tom Pisano, and he had done it in less than 90 days. And he was enrolled by Alan Paris, who did it like 8 weeks. So every single person that they strategically introduced us to in the beginning were people that had become senior directors very, very quickly. And again, if you're the kind of person that can do a really good job of believing in them, maybe even before they believe in themselves, you'll have people have success. Give them a reputation to live up to. Talk to them as if they're already successful. Like you believe they are going to do it. Not like you're worried or you're hoping, but like you really, truly believe. And that'll help them develop the belief in themselves as well. Sometimes people, when they join us, they're a little embarrassed to talk to others. I don't know why. I think sometimes they think others will look down on them for doing this kind of a business. I think they're still lumping us in some of those other types of business where they're really hurting people and they're not enhancing lives. So again, some of the stories you can share with people as to how Melaleuca has really enhanced lives, others you can introduce them to, can help them on that belief and get them out of that mindset where they're embarrassed to talk to somebody about Melaleuca. We're literally changing lives here. And when they really believe that, you'll see a difference in their posture when they talk to others. It won't matter who says no to them. I talk about the 4 Ps of approaching. You got to be prepared. Teach people, they've got to have their schedule there. If I'm teaming up with someone to go help them get to director, I always make sure I tell them, okay, I've got time Tuesday afternoon, Wednesday morning, Thursday evening. We've got a weekly meeting. I'm doing a luncheon on Friday. I got an in-home Saturday afternoon. Here's my schedule for the week. If we're not able to make every call together, then I don't want them on the phone trying to set an appointment and then have to say to the person, well, let me get back to you because I'll see when Mark's available. That's a kiss of death. If they've got somebody right there and then that's willing to set an appointment, they can't say, well, let me get back to you to see when Mark's available. So they need to know my schedule. We need to already be prepared ahead of time of every possible thing we have going on in the week that we could invite someone to. It's really interesting to me how even some of your most senior leadership people in your business still don't do a good job of structuring their business. And what I mean by structuring is actually setting time to make appointments. They're building it by accident, not on purpose. So I tell people you got to listen carefully to what successful people say, but then you got to paraphrase it and put it into your own words. Make it your own. Own it. Come across natural. You can't sound scripted. Of course, your enthusiasm and your posture, and nothing can help you like practice can. Like the one friend saying to the other, is the reason I'm successful is because I'm lucky. But I didn't get lucky until I started working 90 hours a week. So we don't need to make people think they have to work 90 hours a week. But practice does lead to perfection, and we need to let them know that you're never going to do a great approach until you've stumbled a little bit with a few. That's okay. We've all done it. And you're never going to do a great presentation until you've done a few bad ones. That's part of learning the business. But we have to make sure they feel like it's okay. It's part of the learning process. The practice, they'll get better with practice. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the how. This is what everybody wants to know. What do you say? And I don't know what I say every single time. It probably comes out a little different. I have a few favorite things that I say, and I'll share them with you today. It comes out a little different every time because every person I'm talking to is different. So when we first got started in the business, I went around and I wrote down everybody's approach. What does Eddie say? If I could show you a way. The words, right? What does Jim McCune say? It's a business you can start for $29, right? I wrote down what all Alan Paris, I wrote down all the top leaders, what their approach was. I literally had 3 or 4 pages of approaches. And I remember at training meetings, I used to hand these out to people. Okay, this is a good one. Here's what Jim McCune says, or here's what Eddie says. And I could literally see that I was paralyzing folks because they thought they had to learn a scripted approach. Now, I know there's probably some people in this room that like having a script, but you're also probably really good at making it your own so the person on the other end of the line couldn't tell for a second that it was a script. Truth is, whether you like that just as a crutch or not, what we're trying to get to is make sure that people sound natural. They sound like themselves. And I found that more often than not, by trying to get people to memorize a script, they didn't sound natural. They're like literally holding the script up, making a phone call, shaking to death, trying to read Eddie's approach. Hey, insert prospect's name here. Would you be interested? They're so scared to death that they're going to screw something up that they're not thinking about who am I approaching, what might be of interest to them, where can I connect with them, how can I sound natural? So what we want to do is teach people things not to say that can turn others off. Words are powerful. If you say you signed up in something or you got into something or you joined, I don't like using the term home-based business. Now, we all have a business and we all work from home, so I guess technically it's a home-based business. But if someone asks me what I do for a living, I always say, I love what I do because my wife and I have our own business, but we get to work from home. Now, I didn't say, I have a home-based business. The difference in what people hear, even though those words are so similar, the difference in what they hear makes a difference as to whether or not you've created curiosity or contempt. And if you say, I have a home-based business, think about it. For any of you that go to some sort of a networking event, someone sitting next to you says, I have a home-based business. Instantly, everybody's posture in the room changes. They're going to try to sign me up in something or sell me something, right? But if I say, I love what I do for a living because my wife and I have our own business and we actually get to work from home. Really? I'd love to have my own business and get to work from home. So words are powerful in how you say that. I don't use the word tell because tell gets me into trouble on the phone. If I say, hey, Alan, Mark here, I got to tell you about a business idea I'm really excited about. Okay, tell me. Oh, I can't tell you now. Well, you just said you wanted to tell me. I do want to tell. I so want to tell you. Well, okay, tell me. I can't tell you now. What do you mean you can't tell me now? I just can't tell you now. Well, you said you wanted to tell me. I know, but the guy at the training meeting said not to. It always gets you into trouble, right? So you have to use words that send a visual. When we first got started, Kim and Eddie taught us to say it's a visual thing. It's a visual thing. And so we knew we needed to sit down and do a presentation with people. What I usually say to folks is I use words like show, look, see. Here's some of the words that we use in approaches. We've started a business. If they're brand new, I teach them to say we've started a business. If they've been building for a while, we say we're expanding our business. So whatever is unique to them or whatever applies to them, that's the phrase we give them. But if they're brand new, we started a business. I've partnered with a $1 billion manufacturing company called Melaleuca. If I'm talking to a stay-at-home mom, we actually specialize in teaming up with moms that would love to generate a full-time income working from home. Even in part-time hours. Love to sit down and show you what we're doing. I think once you have a look, it'll make total sense. I can hardly wait for you to see it. I actually mentally try to use the word look, show, and see in every approach I use, all 3 of them. I don't do them in the same order every time, but it's just sending that thing. It's a visual thing. It's a visual thing. It's sending that subliminal message. Look, show, see. If I was talking to a realtor, hey, how's things going right now? Well, you know, market's a little tough. Low stuff's going crazy. I can never get an offer in. There's 300 other offers, and high stuff isn't moving, and they all want me to advertise their homes. It's just a tough time right now. Well, you know, I teamed up with a billion-dollar manufacturing company, and we're looking for some people, part-time. You can work it around what you're already doing, but we actually specialize in helping people, like realtors, for example, earn some residual income to bridge the gap between closings. You know, so I'm actually identifying something about the person we're going to call. When we sit down with a brand new person and we start talking about who's on their list, we actually talk about what might we say to this particular person. Tell me a little bit about them. What's their history? Where do you know them from? What do you think might be of interest to them right now? All right, now we know that different styles, different personalities can have success with different types of approaches. I like just a direct approach, like have you heard of Melaleuca? That's a simple approach. Or, you know, are you the kind of person that's open-minded to look at different ways to generate income working from home? Or are you the kind of person that keeps your eyes open for a plan B in case plan A doesn't quite work out? Maybe it's looking a little shaky. Just direct questions. You know, hey, I'm looking for someone I could team up with right now that wants to earn an extra $100,000 next year. Do you know anybody? Now, I can tell you, when you use that kind of approach, if people don't have an entrepreneurial bone in their body, they'll sit there and try to think of someone for you. But most people go, what do you mean? Maybe me. So you identify right away whether you're talking to someone that might have an interest in our business. There's a referral approach, another one of my favorites. Hey, maybe you could help me out. I'm looking for some good people to expand here or there, or wherever I'm working. You know, do you know anybody that's a people person that might be interested in generating some extra income? So a referral approach for me is great because even if I'm thinking they might be interested, sometimes it's easier to book it almost like third person. Hey, who do you know that might be interested? Who do you know, who do you know, who do you know that needs extra income? Who do you know that recently got laid off? Who do you know that's lost their business in this current economy? So you could ask people questions, who do you know? A lot of times they turn out showing some interest themselves and you end up booking an appointment to show them. One note on that, though, if you do book someone on a referral approach, don't go sit down with them and try to pitch them on Melaleuca. Now it looks like a bait and switch. You know, you can say to them, hey, listen, I really appreciate you spending some time with me here, and I got to be honest, I was even thinking that this might be something you have an interest in, but I don't even know where you're at in life right now, so I really appreciate you having a look, and like I said on the phone, you might think of someone that would be perfect for me to talk to. So it's okay to drop a little hint there that you're maybe hoping they'd have an interest, but don't do a bait and switch approach with people. It's not honest. And I always like to tell them to bring a friend. That's one of the things I do to confirm appointments that works really well, is that when I call someone back to say, hey, I'm looking forward to getting together tomorrow afternoon too. And you know, I was thinking about it, Raphael. If you've got a buddy that you like to bounce ideas off, I mean, this isn't a secret, bring them along. So a lot of times that takes any of their fear of meeting with me away because they could bring someone for moral support now. It doesn't sound like I'm going to sell them something if I'm telling them to bring a friend. And at the same time, they might enroll that person their very first day in Melaleuca. Where does that take their belief? So I find that's a great way to get people going too. And I always confirm the appointment by phone. Now, I might send them an email or a text when I book the appointment, just for their reference. So I hang up, okay, great, see you Tuesday afternoon. Remember, I said that Starbucks, you know, but then on the day of or the night before, I'm going to phone them and book it. I never send them a text to say, hey, are we still getting together today? That's pretty much the same as canceling. Because they'll just text you back, oh, sorry, something came up. Don't ever do that, right? But you can send them a little email when you've booked the appointment just to remind them of where you're meeting. But when it comes time to confirm by phone. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is we all know that no matter how good you are, you're always going to have some resistance. It's just human nature. There are people that are put on the face of this planet just to say no. We've all met them. All right? You've met them. We've met them. And what we've learned is a simple technique takes the fear away, and that is to just acknowledge their concern, but then go ahead and book the appointment anyway and let them know that it's okay for them to say no if they're not interested. If someone says, it's not like one of those MLM pyramids, is it? I go, hey, listen, I don't blame you for being a little skeptical. There's a lot of that stuff out there. But why don't you be the judge? Let's sit down for a few minutes. I'll show you how Melaleuca works. And if you have any concern that it's like one of those things, then don't do it. Where are they going to go with that? Or if they say, I don't like to sell. Hey, totally hear you. Most people don't like to sell, especially to their friends, right? And they agree, right? Well, I'll tell you what, it's no big deal to me. Why don't we sit down for a few minutes? I'll show you how Melaleuca works, and if you feel uncomfortable like you'd have to be selling, then don't do it. Fair enough? I'll tell you what, I'm excited. I'd like to show you anyway. Because who knows, at the very least, you might think of someone you know that would be perfect for me to talk to. What if they say, I've been in stuff before, home-based business, that stuff, I always lose money, doesn't work for me. What would I say? I'd say, hey, totally understand. A lot of scams out there. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if you never wanted to look at anything else again. But hey, tell you what, it's no big deal to me. Let's sit down for a few minutes. I'll show you how Melaleuca works. And if you still think it's like one of those other things that you lost money in, then don't do it. Fair enough? But hey, I'm excited. I'd like to show you anyway. Who knows? At the very least, you might think of someone that would be perfect for me to talk to. And I just appreciate any help I could get. So that way of handling resistance is just basically acknowledging that you understand, but getting them to confirm that you're just going to show it to them, and if they still feel the same way, they don't have to enroll. It really boils down to this. If you have the posture to get the appointment the first time you try to set it, you'll be much more successful than getting into this routine where they're always telling you to call them back. And it's a forever maybe, so to speak. And that just never works. Pretty soon they don't take your calls anymore. So your best chance of getting the appointment is the first time. So no matter what they say to you, you say, hey, I totally understand, but it's no big deal to me. Let's sit down for a few minutes. I'll show you how Melaleuca works. And if you still feel that way, then don't do it. But I just love to show you because I'm excited, and who knows, at the very least you might think of someone you know that would be perfect for me to talk to. So when we teach people that, it takes away their fear of objection because they realize they can handle any resistance. Then it allows them to be more themselves because they're comfortable now in the approach. They're not so scared of what people might say to them, and they're going to start having success. And that builds that belief that's so critical. So thanks for having me here today. I appreciate you indulging me.